All right. So listen, last night we saw Baltimore. Who's the best team in the AFC? And what Baltimore's defense not so great. Who are the best teams in the AFC and where are their weaknesses?
I think all of them are flawed. I'd start there. I have a hard time going away from Kansas City just because I think they are the Patriots. And if you look at the evidence and what they become, how they pull these games out in the end. I mean, just the feeling, and I'm sure you guys felt this way too, right? Like when they win that coin toss, the game's over. Like that's the way we all felt. And that's the way you felt for 20 years when Brady was here. The way that they're able to just consistently replace people, adjust what they're doing. Their plan offensively was much different than where it is now. Like they coming into the year, it was Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy running over the top, and Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce running underneath them. Half of that equation's gone. Rice is out for the year. Hollywood's almost certainly out for the year. And they keep winning. And I think they're going to keep getting better. They're going to incorporate DeAndre Hopkins. They're going to get more out of Travis Kelce deeper into the year as he's got to kind of summon that. And they need, and they ask a little bit more of him. I think the offensive line will settle itself. It's just, I have a hard time going away from Kansas City. Now, I think Buffalo's really good. I think Buffalo's pretty balanced. I think they've had a lot of young guys step up and replace some of the old guys that are out the door. We've been through those names: Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, Tre'Davious White, Stephon Diggs, Mitch Morris, guys that were important to them. And I think the Ravens' ceiling is high. It's just the defense has not been good the last few weeks. And, I wanted to give their new defensive coordinator, Zach Orr, a pass early on. Because he is younger and because Mike McDonald had his issues in Baltimore early on too. But, as we get deeper into the season, you start to wonder, are they going to be able to take care of those?
All right. So you got Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Houston, and Kansas City. They're all going to make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have a big mishmash of teams looking for the last two wild card spots.
Yep.
You have the Jets at 3-6. The Cincinnati Bengals at 4-6, Indianapolis at 4-5, Los Angeles at 5-3, and Denver at 5-4. How does that all shake out?
So, I want to kind of wrap my arms around the Chargers right now because you still have that thing in the back of your head that's what's going to happen with the Chargers and what seems to always happen with the Chargers. But I mean, Jim Harbaugh is the coach now, and Justin Herbert's starting to get really comfortable and play well, and in that offense, and you see the markings of a Harbaugh team. The defense has played great. Like the defense, between what they've been able to get out of Derwin James and Khalil Mack and some of the older vets on that team, and then what they're able to do on offense in the run game, which wasn't there previously. J.K. Dobbins has kind of undergone like a career renaissance there. I look at the teams like beyond the five that you mentioned, like they feel to me like a pretty dangerous one that like could advance a round or two in the playoffs. And then I'm just like looking at the standings and how Cincinnati played. You guys don't want to rule them out, do you?
No, but that was a big loss for them. That was a big loss for them last night.
It was. And if they can beat the Chargers, now they play the Chargers next. If they can beat the Chargers next, then they have their bye and they have a little bit of a shot to reset. I think they're similar to the Ravens in a certain way. Like they've got this explosive offense with weapons all over the place and an MVP candidate, a quarterback, and their defense can't stop a nosebleed, so, and it's a defense that has been pretty good over the last few years, but it's gotten older in some key spots. So I think Cincinnati and Baltimore, like this is the second time we've seen them play that type of game where it's just who has the ball last. It feels like,
Bert, I wanted to ask you, since we were sitting here last week talking about, or earlier this week talking about the Patriots going for two or not going for two at the end of last weekend's game. That was the exact same scenario Cincinnati had last night, and they went for two and didn't get it. Where do you land on this?
So this one, I'm not sure I would have gone for two. There were two over the weekend where I would have. If I was Tampa, I would have. If I was the Patriots, I would have. This one, it's weird. Like the one where like the team actually, maybe it's just like kind of like like the way you think about things. Like it's like being contrarian about it. This is one where I may have not done it because the offense is playing so well. And if you win the toss, you're on the road. You put the ball in the hands of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, and you go. Now, I can understand Zach Taylor's logic. I think that was it the Ravens that scored on 4 straight possessions. I think that was the number, right?
Yeah,
To
probably.
finish
I
the
mean,
game.
the 34 points scored in total in that
Yeah.
fourth quarter last night.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's that element of it, like, which is like, do you think that you can prevent overtime? The way the defense was playing, and then if you get to overtime and you lose the toss, is the game over? So I can understand it. I just think like they've got too much experience where I would trust my team to kind of be able to find a way there. Whereas, in the situations of Tampa was playing without Mike Evans, without Chris Godwin. I know they felt like they were sort of out of bullets there. And the Patriots were, I mean, clearly the Patriots in their 2 point situation, they were definitely out of bullets. Like for them to tie that game, Drake May had to run around for 12 seconds and make something happen, you know? So, like, in the circumstances over the weekend, and I hate to second guess, like, it feels like I'm second guessing every coach here, but like in the circumstances over the weekend, those two, I think I definitely would have gone for two. In this one, I would have been a little bit more reluctant just based on the circumstances.
Okay. So you like the Chargers, but there's two, and then you like since there's two more wild card spots and a lot of very mediocre to bad
Yeah.
teams.
Well, I mean, like I trust Jim Harbaugh and Joe Burrow more than I trust Denver right now or Indianapolis right now. God, the Jets are in the 10th spot now. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
Like, the
because
Jets
they beat the
they are
Texans.
not out of it.
Right. I know you're very down on them because of your relationship with Saleh. I
No.
understand. I'm kidding.
That sounds like
I'm kidding.
a bitter Jet fan.
Yes, it is. Of course, it
now.
is. My son. I only have 2 more years with my son to watch these games, and then I'm going to die. But they did beat the Texans. If they beat Arizona, which you don't think they're going to do, right? But if they go on the road and they beat Arizona, they're in a playoff position at that point.
Yeah,
you know?
no, I agree with that because at that point, like if we're going to call Cincinnati a playoff contender, we got to call the Jets one because they have the same record, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, like the Jets are like the Bengals, and like when I've talked to Bengals people the last couple of weeks, it's like we just need to get to the bye and reset. We're a good team. We just need to get to the bye and reset. And I sort of feel like the Jets people you talk to say the same sorts of things. Is that they really it's a gassed team right now. They're going to the West Coast again, and I mean you can dress this up any way you want. The schedule maker screwed them.
Yeah.
They've played 2 Thursday night games. They opened on the West Coast and then played a second road game coming off of that. They had to go to London. It was the schedule was brutal for them, no matter how you slice that. So they felt like for a while, like if we can get to the bye, then we can catch our breath a little bit and reset. But yeah, I mean, I guess you circle the 5 teams you think that are going to make the playoffs here, and like outside of that, I mean. I'm not saying like the Dolphins could get back in it, but I mean, again, they're like even in the loss column with the Bengals too.
Yeah. Yeah.
This could be really weird down the stretch.
Yes, a bad team's going to get in the playoffs, basically. In the
Well, and I don't
NFC.
even know but that's the thing is like if Cincinnati gets in the playoffs and their defense gets a little better, if the Jets start playing well, like those might not be bad teams.
And
by the
Bert,
end of the
and that's
year.
the thing is the Jets and Cincinnati have lost to good teams in bad ways. Like or I didn't put that right, but Cincinnati lost to Kansas City. It was controversial end. They lose to Baltimore at the end. It's a controversial end. Because there was talk if there was several penalties on the 2-point conversion. The Jets miss a field goal to beat Denver. The Jets miss an extra point in a field goal and lose to the Patriots. Like there's. But the Patriots game's not as egregious as the two with Cincinnati. But they're a good kicker or
the
good
Dolphins,
officiating away from being winning records.
The Dolphins, like you could just say, like, I mean, clearly not having the quarterback affected them in a huge way. You know what I
sure.
mean?
Well,
Like,
they were maybe the worst team in football without the quarterback.
and like even like the last couple of weeks, they've lost games to Buffalo and Arizona, but those are good teams, and they were with those teams blow for blow. You know what I mean? Like, and the offense actually played well. Like, I think Tua played well in those 2 games. So like you look at the Dolphins, you could say, yeah, I mean, I could see them finding a way to sneak back in this thing.
Yeah, sir. I mean, yeah, one or two of these teams is going to make the playoffs. All right, who's the best team in the NFL right now?
I mean, it's just as far as the way they're playing. Again, like it's so
Set
hard
up for success.
Yeah, I've come under attack for saying the team I'm gonna say, because it's the same thing as like Patriots fans back in the day. You know what I mean? So the Kansas City people be like, "Whoa, they're undefeated and the 2-time defending champions." The team that's playing the best right now, I think, clearly is Detroit.
Yeah, and
let that sink in for an extra beat.
that's why I asked him. I knew he was going to say
I'll
Detroit.
continue.
Is Goff the MVP right now, or is Lamar Jackson? Who's the MVP?
So I did this story I did that's up on the website now. It just went up on our mid-season. Yes, my mid-season poll of executives. I have 20 executives on the panel that voted on it. It was the MVP was overwhelmingly Lamar Jackson. I would say I would give it to Lamar right now, just based on what he's had to fight through. They turned over 60% of their offensive line. Like that is. That's a lot, you know, and they've had to win with a deficient defense, like maybe, the worst stretch of defense they've played in a long time there. And Lamar had to be Superman last night for them to win. And that's what separates him from Goff for me. Like, I think Goff has played excellent football, like as efficient as you could possibly play. I think he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now. But like, what do the Lions need from him on a week-to-week basis for him to be for them to win? Like there was that game, I think, what was it, 2 weeks ago, where there was a point in that game when they had 9 net passing yards and 42 points. What does that tell you? You know what I mean? Like it's a team that can win so many different ways. And so I love the way that Jared Goff's playing. He deserves all the credit in the world. But the Ravens, like, there have been points when the Ravens needed Lamar Jackson. Both Cincinnati games, you could argue, they needed Lamar Jackson to be Superman to win those games, and he was, And so, I have a hard time not giving it to Lamar. I'd put Josh Allen in that mix too. And I think Joe Burrow has a chance to kind of come around the corner if Cincinnati gets their, together, and say Cincinnati gets to 10 wins. Like, I think Joe Burrow has been as important to his team as anybody in the NFL as well.
You want a fun fact?
Yeah.
Since Sunday,
and we didn't even talk about Mahomes. Mahomes is a good candidate, right?
That's right. All right. So
Go ahead.
September 22nd, Amon St. Brown has been targeted 27 times. How many catches does
27?
Amon St. Brown has 27.
27 for 27. I saw that stat too.
Goff has not thrown an incomplete pass to Amon St. Brown in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games.
Yep.
Every pass he's thrown has been completed.
Yep.
And by the way, he's 112-yard game in there. He's just very efficient. Touchdowns in every game.
Yeah.
But this is kind of what worries me though, Bert, because you can see stuff like that, and you watch the Lions, you watch Detroit, and there's no title or award for the best team in the NFL. I get that. It really doesn't matter. But I then look at Kansas City as a team, and not just because they're undefeated, but because they haven't played well in certain games,
at times,
and yet they win.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of that's what worries me, I guess. If you think down the road, if you just for whatever reason don't want Kansas City to win another Super Bowl, the way that team is built and the way they play and the way they're coached, I just don't know that they're going to lose a game that is in any way winnable. If they are close, middle of the fourth quarter, even start of the fourth, they're not going to lose a game.
So wait, Hardy, you're saying that's what worries you?
Yes.
Okay, so let's see how far you've come here as a Lions fan, right? You are worried about what's going to happen in the Super Bowl.
Stopped him dead in his tracks with that one.
I've been nervous the last couple of weeks.
You are worried about what? Think about that, Hardy.
No. That's why I prefaced it with I don't want to see Kansas City in the Super Bowl. I've seen that movie multiple times. I'm not interested in watching Patrick Mahomes and Travis
bet
Kelce
against that guy.
and anyone else. I don't want them in the Super Bowl, and I certainly don't want them to win another Super Bowl. Just the way the entire rest of the country felt about the Patriots for years. That's how I now, as a football fan, feel about Kansas City. But it worries me that I don't think they're going to. I'm still going to take the money line against every team that they play for the rest of the season until somebody beats them, because I think someone's going to pop them. I just don't know how it happens, Bert.
Yeah, and I think I mean, I like, you look at like their roster too, and there are enough like ascending young players and new pieces where you can reason with yourself that they're going to just keep getting better. You know, like you can reason with it. Like if you really look at it, it's like, all right, so like on defense, they've got Trent McDuffie and George Karlaftis and Nick Bolton, and these are all young guys that they're relying on, you know, and maybe they get a little bit healthier at corner. And then on offense, like what happens when they start to really incorporate DeAndre Hopkins into what they're doing and, you know, get Juju Smith-Schuster back. And their track record now of like revitalizing guys' careers, whether it was guys who were there previously or guys who were coming from the outside and were star players and maybe had fallen off a little bit, is looking like what New England had done for all of those years, you know? Like I look at the way they bring back Juju Smith-Schuster and Kareem Hunt, and isn't it just like when the Patriots brought Deion Branch back? And Deion Branch seemed like he was in disrepair, and then he comes back to the Patriots, and all of a sudden he's a really good player again.
Yeah.
You know, like it's the same thing. And so I'm with you. Like they're going to be, you can kind of like look at it and start to wrap your head around the idea that this is a team that should keep getting better. And maybe like their rut for this year is what they just came out of.
Right. And they're undefeated.
If you like that clip, and how could you not? Check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. Point slightly up and to the left. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. Point slightly down and to the left. And for the latest from the Sports Hub, download at 985thesportshub.com.